Revenue Service says they've collected that more than 10 billion rand that was previously estimated for the 2023-2024 financial year. It is an uptick at 1.741 trillion rand, despite having paid more refunds. That has seen an increase of 8.6%. Now we are joined by the Commissioner at SARS, Edward Kieswetter. Thank you so much for your time. Commissioner, you've beat estimates. Talk us through how you arrived at these figures, including on the side of compliance as well as measures to curb fraud and corruption.
Yeah, thank you, Arlene. You know, I wish I could say that there was one silver bullet or one magic wand that we could wave. But the results we've announced today is really taking place under extremely challenging conditions. And it is doing many, many little things right. So you will have heard that in the revenue that we announced, the 1.741 trillion, is included 293, almost 294 billion rand of revenue from our compliance program. That is the administrative actions that SARS takes when a taxpayer is non-compliant. One such example, for example, would be debt collection. Now we know that debt has really increased over the last number of years. Understandably, taxpayers are hard-pressed, economic times are tough, people lose their jobs, they don't dispute the debt, they're just not able to pay the debt. This year, in terms of resolving debt and outstanding return cases, we have had to resolve 2.6 million, over 2.6 million cases. That would mean we would have sent out about 1.4 million final demand letters. We would have issued about 160,000 civil judgments. We would have had 41 settlements and compromises, over 200,000 third-party payments. So all of these are efforts exacted by SARS, and combined these efforts have yielded a value of 91.5 billion rand. Another area I can talk to is risk management. We find, you spoke about it in your introduction, we find that there is sadly an aggressive attack on the SARS refund system. We have seen a proliferation of individuals who register for VAT even though there is no requirement, and they do so to get access to the refund system. We find companies that are created with no other intention to trade, but rather the intention just to defraud the fiscus. What we have done over the few years, and really what is encouraging, is that this work is bearing real fruit, and this is building our machine learning capability to do fraud risk detection. So what that means is we receive about 15 million returns from various taxpayers. These returns are taken through our processing engine, through our fraud risk detection methodology tools that we have built, and about 1.7 million of these returns, around about 20% of those returns, are then selected for further verification. We employ about 560 auditors who then have to review the 1.7 million instances, and just that work have yielded 95 billion rand of refunds that otherwise would have flown out had we not done this work. That's almost 20 billion more than what we did last year. A key concern here is VAT, but we're also losing money in other areas. So just our fraud risk detection has yielded over 100 billion rand of additional revenue. And then I can go to syndicated tax crime, where we have a team of 250 people who look at state capture cases. They look at complex syndicated crime, and unfortunately we have a number of big cases that involves cross-border trade, illicit trading activities, and sadly I have to say very often this is enabled by public officials, both elected and appointed public officials. It is enabled by professional enablers, often consulting firms and financial institutions. So these are complex cases that require significant effort and resources, and also we are dependent on the NPA and the Hawks to ensure successful criminal convictions. So it is a collection of all of this work that ultimately have yielded the results that we have announced.
You also highlighted concerns around the domestic economy, naming the likes of logistics as well as the electricity challenges. Talk us through the extent at which those two challenges play a big role in hampering tax revenue collection.
So we have seen, for example, that there's a significant decline in the mining sector profitability. They underperformed 35 billion compared to previous years. Now, of course, there's the element of commodity prices that have had some impact on that. But mining companies are dependent on electricity, a reliable supply of cheap electricity, and when that isn't forthcoming due to load shedding and interruptions, then mine production takes the hit. Once they have got the product out of the mine, they require these products to be taken on rail to the ports. And if your rail infrastructure is inefficient, if your port operation is inefficient, they can't get product for export. We find that criminal syndicates operates on an industrial scale along the entire railway line to steal product off the carriages, and that doesn't reach the market then. So the mining sector is one of those sectors that have really suffered because of the logistics and the electricity constraints. On the positive side, we've also seen a bigger investment in renewable electricity that has contributed 2.2 billion growth compared to last year. Many of the companies that previously had claimed input VAT but have not produced yet, so have not delivered profits. We see that turnaround now. And so that's good news. And ultimately for South Africa, I believe that ultimately load shedding will be resolved because of private investment crowding into the sector, provided we are able to fix the transmission network so that we can dispatch the additional electricity, which at the moment is also constrained.
Lastly, Commissioner, your term has been extended. Talk us through the plans that are in place to continue beating estimates when it comes to revenue collection.
I probably need the name of a good therapist because I have agreed to take on the additional 2 years at great personal cost, to one's health, to one's family, one's loved ones. And yet we do this because we love our country, we want our democracy to succeed. SARS is one of the success stories of our democracy. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we have lost some momentum. So when the President asked me whether I would consider staying on, it was with that in mind that I agreed to stay on for the 2 years to really embed our strategy, build on the work that we have already done in the last 5 years. We've seen positive trends in every area that we have targeted. And we want to continue that work because that's the service towards the most vulnerable in society who depend on government resources because they can't insure themselves against load shedding. They can't insure themselves against public service failure when hospitals don't have beds or medicine, when water supply and other services fail. Wealthy people can buy themselves out of these things, but poor people depend on government and the supply of public services, and it's in their service that we stand to ensure that, at least from our part, we're able to provide government with resources to take care of the most vulnerable and the poorest in society.
Thank you as always for your time and your input. That's SARS Commissioner Edward Kieswetter.